and we're going to be going over a variety of topics here. We have some FCC versus the internet and various other ones like the 1080 Ti Hall of Fame Edition that has an LCD on it for some reason. And I'm Caveman the One, also known as, let's see, what am I on Twitter? Nick Caven on Twitter, and Castiel. You want to do an introduction here?
I am Castiel. I'm also known as Reese Jericho as well. I'm the legal person when we have a legal topic such as the FCC versus the internet. I'll be going over that. I also have an extensive knowledge when it comes to the intricacies of Hollywood law stuff that's going on, as well as video game engines. That's another specialty of mine.
Cool, dude.
I am Cool Dude 007. I am the 3D printing person. I am the gun person. I'm the gun person again. And this week I am also the Penguicon person. Because I'm the only person that lives even close to Michigan. Because I live inside of Michigan. Are we going to talk about that first, what we do with our weeks?
I mean, we can, since you already introed into it, so why not? You can go first.
Okay. For those of you who don't already know Penguicon, which I would hope you all do, because Wendell's done 3 videos on it for the last 3 years in a row now. You may think that it's a Linux thing due to the penguinness, but it's really not. There's any topic that anyone signed up to do a panel on. Well, it doesn't always have to be a panel, just a presentation and a speaker. I went to things about 3D printed firearms, which it wasn't what I was looking for. It was very vague, just people talking about forces of tension and twisting and stuff like that. There was another guy, he wrote rootkits for Linux, and that was absolutely fascinating because I didn't know that people did that. And that was also slightly terrifying. And there was other things for the 21 plus people. They had LN2 cooled beer, and I see. Why are you face palming?
Look at the lounge.
Oh Lord.
That certain user strikes again.
Program for moderation of the forum.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, we're going to ignore this interruption, and we're going to cease the interruption with more interruptions with your interruption. So, I'm holding this thing. This is not even relevant to Penguicon. This is a Defense Distributed Liberator pistol. You're not going to see any more of that. Other things I had at Penguicon, I made the sign. I was going to try and find Eric S. Raymond and get him a picture of this, but I never found him. Wendell did. Wendell's got pictures with him, but not with that. So that just sits next on my streaming set. And I printed these little badges that say L1. I'll put the STL on Thingiverse soon. You'll find it on my profile, CoolDude007. And that was this week in my shit.
Okay. I'll go next here. I got the FirePro W8100, and that's pretty much the highlight of the week here for me because I got to play around with it. Normally it's like it started out as a $2,500 card, and now it's like a $600 card, so that was fun to mess with. It's basically an R9 390, but has more double full point, so playing around with that. And then, other than that, I have a new job now as a security guard, so that's interesting. Almost couldn't do the LAN, but then got rescheduled, so yeah, and I think that's about what I've done this week. Castiel?
So I had 2 things happen this week. The first thing that happened this week was on Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Wednesday. I finally released my findings for my 7-month in-depth investigation on freedom of speech and the internet. It's something I was investigating personally because I was just really curious about it. I learned a lot from the process. I released it. The response was overall very positive. I was pleased with the response. I was a little worried about it. I was extremely worried when I released it out into the internet. not gonna lie. But I figured as long as I approached it just as a pure legal perspective, it would have been fine, and I turned out to be correct on that matter. The other thing that happened this week is Prey 2017 came out. I got it. I have played about 3 hours, and it is performing very well on the PC. It's using the Cry engine. I don't know which version of it. It's some version of the third one. I don't know which iteration it is of the third one. The other thing I do know about it is that it was made by the Austin team. There are two teams with Arcane Studios. There's the Austin one, and then there's the other one. I can't remember where they are, but they're not in Austin, and they're the one that do Dishonored. But the Austin team, they primarily focused on making Prey. The funny thing when it comes to Prey, a lot of people don't know this or are aware of this. The people that were involved with making Prey, they wanted to make a spiritual sequel to System Shock 2, and there are a lot of nods to System Shock 2 within Prey. While I was playing it, I like, this reminds me of System Shock 2 here, and here. They're nice little nods to it, while also doing its own thing. It's very, very, it performs very well on PC. Even the controls are actually very intuitive for the PC. I'm averaging about 60 frames per second on an RX 480 at the highest settings, which is really, really good for a CryEngine game. I haven't noticed any performance issues anywhere. Overall, very, very enjoyable game. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. So yeah, that was my week.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at getting Prey. Normally, I don't like that kind of game, but it looks really well done.
Oh wait, yeah.
And I think you also have the first topic here, so.
Yes, I do. So I have the first one, and it is a doozy. It's titled on our doc. The FCC is going to destroy Title II, net neutrality, all is lost. And yeah, that's true. Let me dive into why that is. So there's the actual proposal. I didn't link in our doc because it is a really long legal document, but I've read all of it. It is 50 pages, and let me go over what's the basic version. This is the common man version of what they're planning to do. Reclassifying the broadband internet to information services. I'll go over what that is in a moment. Changing or getting rid of the bright line rules. I'll also go over what that is. So first, reclassifying. Reclassifying broadband internet to information services means that the FCC would no longer have oversight over the broadband internet at all. They would hand it off to the FTC. By reclassifying it as this, basically, they're saying we're no longer responsible for monitoring the internet anymore. It's the FTC's job. The problem with that is the FTC has actually come out and said, we actually can't do anything when it comes to the internet, as far as regulating it goes, or telling the ISPs what to do. They literally can't do anything. They have no power to do anything over that. So that's one of the things. The other thing is changing or getting rid of the bright line rules. So you may be wondering, what are the bright line rules? They are extremely important, like very, very important. So here's the basic version. You know how currently there's no throttling to websites. There's no websites being excluded from your internet service. And there's no tiered paid service for the going to your websites. Well, they want to either get rid of or change them. So there's potential where we could have throttling, we could have exclusion of websites, or websites being blocked altogether unless you pay to get access to those sites, which I'm just like, my mind is kind of blown. They're thinking of letting that happen because it's just really, really bad what they're thinking of doing. Now, they have opened up comments, but let me give you the basic gist. The problem with the FCC, even though they have opened up comments, they have no ability to, they actually don't have to listen to anyone's comments. They can just go ahead and do what they want. But here's the bright light, or the bright side of this aspect. The bright line of this aspect is that they have to justify changing anything in net neutrality before the courts. So they will actually have to go to court and justify, okay, this is why we're changing it. And the court has to approve or disapprove, which is kind of our one gleaming hope we have right now. Literally, it is one of our gleaming hopes left we have for them going to court, because the courts have already have a legal precedent established. And so the courts are more likely to go with the precedent than listening to the FCC. They're like, we have precedent already establishing this. You can't change the rules. So it's basically right now, it's a wait and see. It's going to be July when they have their actual meeting, or is it May? It's either in May or July. I can't remember when they're going to have their meeting on this. So we'll see. And that's, does anyone have any questions on this topic?
My conclusion from hearing this is basically, and there goes the internet.
I
If
forgot
it
to unmute
passes
myself.
through.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, there was. I knew this SG guy would fuck shit up. I know he says that this is that net neutrality is bad for business. From the viewpoint of the businesses running the internet, yes, this is bad for the. Well, no, this is good for them. Net neutrality is bad for them. So there's the 1 micron of devil's advocate that I have, and the rest of it is please fuck you.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. The funny thing is, even though he said it's bad for business, the thing is, the internet companies were still raking in a profit.
Yes, there's
Even
still.
yeah. So
Back when the tech was a thing, Logan did probably half a tech worth of which one was it? Time Warner, 98% profit margin.
yeah, something like
You
that.
guys remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of hit me.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next topic. Speaking of companies, ESPN laid off 100 employees. Now, the thing is that this website was like, why is this going on? And the thing is, I actually know exactly why this is going on. Here's the thing with ESPN and sports as a whole. All sports centered shows ratings have been declining like this for the last 5 years. Like that, basically. Which means they're not getting as much money. They're not getting as many viewers, and they're just losing money on these shows. And there are a lot of them now. They're basically, instead of having one centralized show like or centralized channel like ESPN, now have ESPN, you have Fox, you have NFL channels, you have all these channels for basically every sport you can imagine. There's a channel for it. With all this hemorrhaging, basically, this results in a loss of viewership. And, well,
last year was the final nail in the coffin for declining viewership on sports.
Yes.
I saw your articles all year long, like, oh, the election's taking away our viewership. It still hasn't come back up yet, so
yeah,
it's more than that.
Yeah, it's basically, the thing is that people are going to watch their sports. They're going to watch them for the sports. They're not going to watch the extra shows per se, and that's what's happening. These extra shows are the ones that are being hit, not the actual games themselves. So it's kind of interesting.
Like anything that's not the actual game, the viewership is like a quarter of what it used to be. So
yes, yep.
That's the only thing cable is good for anymore, is watching live TV, like live shows like sports.
Yeah,
That's honestly it. And sometimes you can even do that over Twitter.
Amazon actually struck a deal with the NFL to stream football.
They
So
still don't have hockey, although that's only really a northern thing, to be honest. But it's also all over, so
yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, so I also have the next topic. Basically, this happened while we were off. There was a potential there was going to be another writer strike. And even though it was averted, I just want to talk on it briefly. A deal was reached temporarily. The actors still have to agree to a deal as well. But basically, this would have affected a lot of different things. It wouldn't have just affected movies and television. This actually would affect video games as well. Because most of the writers in America for video games are actually all a part of the Writers Guild of America. And most of them work for the Hollywood studios, anyways. But what's interesting about this writer strike is that there was concern it was going to be as bad as the one in 2008 or 7. I can't remember when. Basically, there was a writer strike that lasted for 100 days. And that writer strike, like, I know the reasoning behind it. I know why it happened. It was fully justified. But the short version of it is it killed a lot of shows. Like, Pushing Daisies was one of the shows it killed. It affected Quantum of Solace. Quantum of Solace came out basically, and all they had was the first draft of the film, which is why it wasn't nearly as good as Casino Royale. It was actually written by the same people who wrote Casino Royale, so you would have expected it to be just as good, if not better, but they only were able to do one draft, and they had to film it because contracts. Anyways, I just wanted to touch on it briefly. There was a potential writer's strike. A deal was struck. The reason it happened is basically it came with the episode things. Basically, writers are paid per episode, only once. Okay? And what they wanted, the writers wanted to where they were paid when the episode is bought individually, digitally, and when it's rebroadcasted. So that's all they wanted. They're like, okay, we want a better deal. This is what we want. And that does sound fair and reasonable. You know, they should be paid for the episode they wrote, regardless of when someone watches it. Like if someone buys it much, much later, they should be paid for that episode. How much? That's what they were negotiating for. So that's pretty much all the stuff I had.
Okay, so now we have the shorter topics here, so everyone can comment on them and all that. But first one we have here is Corsair comes out with another mouse, and this one's RGB. So yeah.
I remember this one. What? I've heard this name before. It must. Didn't they already have a Glaive mouse that just now RGB?
I no idea honestly, but this one made headlines, so I'm gonna assume that this one is the first one with RGB.
16,000 dB. I quit. God damn it, people. You don't. 8K screens? Maybe?
That's a big maybe too.
Maybe.
I'm still using my like.
I use the Tech Syndicate standard issue mouse that came out like what 2 years ago now.
I just have this random red dragon.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I know it caps out at 5,000. I use it 4. 16? Really?
This is for the CS:GO players who Twitch and then they one-shot everyone. I don't understand how.
No, this isn't for the CS:GO players. Logitech already did that mouse. Some 500 series mouse is super accurate and the grip's just right or whatever, and all the CS:GO players are like, "This is the best mouse ever" because we told them how to make a mouse and it works great.
Yeah. Let's see here.
They put tire tread on the mouse wheel. Why was that needed? It looks like a freaking off-road tire from a quad from the mid-2000s.
I like it. It's funny how they say unrivaled performance, and 16,000 DPI is now a marketing thing.
Yeah, no, DPI does not equal performance. Sorry. What's the sensor?
Doesn't really say.
It says optical gaming sensor.
What?
And there's a
Unless I'm
professional who
behind
uses
the
it.
times in laser sensor technology, I'm pretty sure only lasers went that high.
But yeah, that about wraps up that topic. So it's kind of an
I'm
interesting.
so confused. All right, next.
Next, the Polite 1080 Ti Hall of Fame edition, and it has an LCD on it because.
Okay. Speaking of other points of things that should not have to exist, you now have screens on your graphics card, so you can graphics while you graphics, dog.
You can play Doom while you play Doom.
You know what? Someone's gonna put Doom on that thing now.
It's the hip thing to do. Can it play Doom?
So is this a driver? Is this display just like is it an actual like pixelated screen?
I would guess so, but it looks like it's only black and white. I'm not entirely sure though.
You can play Doom on black and white.
But it has 3 8-pins for some unknown reason.
Well, you see that power phase VRM 12+3. That's why.
Yeah.
The HOF cards are always for insane stuff. Even though all LAN 2 overclockers had in their own boards anyway. I've always liked the white PCB that they do on the HOF cards.
I do like the fact that they actually made it a white PCB. So.
Yeah, it's white PCB and white LEDs. Does it say RGB? I hope it's not RGB. It better be white, because if you put anything but white on a white card, you're doing it wrong. You should have bought a black one.
I would guess that all of it's RGB, but I don't know. Elite, they're strange with how they do their Hall of Fame cards.
Wait, I thought this was Galax, formerly Galaxy.
They are Galax, but they're also Polite. It depends on if you're in Europe or America.
Okay, I was really confused for a second.
So, I think Galax is the everywhere except the United States.
And another thing is, I would assume, or I would hope, that most people that buy these things, all these cards with these insane VRMs, they're putting them underwater, right?
Well, even underwater, the 1080 Ti hits a limit at 2.1 gigahertz, maybe 2.3 gigahertz if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't understand.
If you get this card, you get this really nice card with the cooler. It's all nice and quiet. But then you put it underwater, you don't even get the screen on anyway. And if they use that as a selling point, then that's kind of dumb.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, but it'll make me laugh if they set some world records under LN2 on this. And there's not going to be a screen.
Nope.
But
I wonder, what's the limit for the temperature reading? How far down could it go? Like, could they keep the thermal probe on it and like just have it leading off the side?
it's a Hall of Fame edition, so probably it would probably work.
It just depends on the thermal limits of the sensor. All right, next, I guess. Anyone else?
Yeah. Next is the Intel. Yeah, Intel's stop overclocking to stop your processor from overheating, because that's logical.
But that's the end result that's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, enough people are overclocking their 7700Ks that Intel feels it necessary to tell people to stop overclocking their 7700Ks to stop them from overheating, which is kind of interesting, I guess. I just kind of found it funny that that's all Intel is saying. It's not because of the thermal interface, it's because people are overclocking.
Totally.
Yeah.
Should have waited for Ryzen. That's all I can say.
Like one person on the farm.
Yeah. Castiel, you got Ryzen or are you still Intel?
I have Intel in my system at the moment. I'm on the last generation, so I'm running a 6700K. So i7. So
the whole point of this heating up thing, overclocking doesn't necessarily make your thing. It's only if you turn up the voltage, and I guess there's so many people that are turning up their voltage high enough that it's overheating. Like that happens. My 4790K, which is Haswell, it's one of the worst overclockers ever. It gets hot when you turn up the voltage. That's what happens. Intel shouldn't have to tell you that your CPU gets hot when you turn it on.
Yeah. 4790K system. I've had experiences with these things where even if you change the voltage from like 1.2 to 1.25, the voltage just skyrockets out of nowhere. So
voltage or the temperature? You just said voltage twice.
Yeah, temperature. English is a thing. Temperature skyrockets even though the voltage is like not that high. So yeah, it's kind of, they're touchy. So, and then I think this one's interesting. Windows 10s will lock users into Edge and Bing.
The short topic that won't be so short.
Yes.
In a nutshell, it's Windows 10 RT, not Windows 8 this time. In another nutshell, this is Microsoft's answer to Chrome OS. Where anyone that's ever used a Chromebook says in the article right there too, you can only use Chrome in Chrome OS. Or locks it as the default browser. I've never used Chrome OS. I don't know if you can change it or not. But in Windows 10s, there is no possibility of changing the browser unless you pay money to upgrade it to Pro. You can't even upgrade to just Home Edition. You get it to upgrade to Pro. Then you can do whatever you want. But this will be for the eventual, I guess, Microsoft tier of Chromebooks, which will probably be worse than normal Chromebooks because it'll only be Microsoft making them.
yeah, I actually have a Chromebook myself, so I can kind of comment on it. The Chrome OS, yeah, pretty much you're stuck with using the Chrome browser interface, docs, everything. But it makes sense for that because it's all just Chrome stuff. So yeah. With Microsoft though, I'm just like, yeah, like I can't believe they're doing this again because the Windows RTs, they failed.
Yeah.
They failed horribly, so they're doing it again, and I'm just like,
remember the first Surface.
Yeah, I'm just like, what are you doing? Yep.
I hope this fails so hard that they never do it again.
That's what we need.
Windows 10 is the last Windows, so theoretically they won't ever do it again. And the thing they have to put the S in, all the tech companies, if they have the version of what they have and they want to say, oh, this is the fancy version, they put an S in front of it. But this is S. This is the chopped down version. But they slice the chunk off. You can only use Edge. And then to make it even worse, Edge, honestly, is not a terrible browser. But when you have to use it with Bing, then it's a terrible browser.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. They're shooting themselves in the foot, and nothing will change. There's threads on the forum was like, maybe this will finally make Linux mainstream. No, it won't. Linux will never be mainstream. Deal with it. I'm sorry.
People are just gonna pay the $50 to get actual Windows.
Yes. If you're that cheap that you have to buy a Windows Chromebook, buy a normal Chromebook.
Also, the price point on the Windows 10s devices is not even close to a Chromebook, so it just is odd to me. It's like $1,000. I'm like, no, that's not a Chromebook competitor.
No, buy a normal laptop, please.
You can buy a really good laptop for $1,000.
Buy a really good laptop nowadays for $1,000. I need to do that before QuakeCon happens in August.
I have to send all the stuff to the modder who I'm getting the old 386 computer modded.
Right.
But yeah. And then our last
Windows
topic
10s,
here.
don't buy it.
Yeah, Windows 10s. Windows 10. Not gonna say that, but it's not at all related. Is SpaceX? Elon Musk is going to have SpaceX have internet on satellites. In theory, it'll be lower latency than a lot of landlines, though I don't know if that's actually going to be a thing. So
That has to be somewhat debatable because going to space takes a lot more time than going across a copper wire.
yeah,
Because when it gets back down on the ground, it still has to go through copper wires. Anyway, internet in space. 4,400 satellites, as if we didn't have enough shit in space already. Awkward silence.
yep.
All right.
But,
Anyway, internet in space. If this is anything like satellite internet, I'm not buying this for even half a second because satellite internet is an absolute joke. You get cell phone tier data caps with cell phone tier latency, but you do get house speed, but it's at that latency, so it doesn't even count.
yeah. The only good thing that this could have is if they offer a gigabit, even at the low latency or the high latency, it's like I don't know if that.
No, I don't think gigabit could ever be feasible from a satellite.
That's what they're targeting. I don't know if they'll actually hit it. So.
No. Gigabit on a phone will be a thing. Well, it's probably already a thing in South Korea, probably, but gigabit on a phone will be a thing before satellite gigabit.
Yep. Kind of interesting, and also Trickstar, you mentioned it in the lounge, so.
Is that how we came about this?
Partially that, and partially it was also actually on NCX Tech Tips, so.
Which
is where most of these topics came from. So.
Yeah. It's gonna use Falcon 9s, of course. So all I can imagine is this Falcon 9. It's gonna sit on a pad. It's got a satellite on it. It's go. And it's gonna come back. Put another satellite on it. Come back. Am I the only one that's thinking that would watch a live stream just rocket going up and down, up and down? That'd be fantastic.
It'd probably take a few days.
Probably. They'd only have to do it for 4,425 times. What if this isn't about the internet? This is about them proving how many times they could launch rockets over and over again. So they're really trying to promote space tourism to Mars.
That's actually a really interesting theory. I like this theory. It sounds plausible. Basically, look how reliable we are at launching stuff into space.
Yeah.
That's actually, yeah.
They may not have to do it 4,400 times, depending on how big these little satellites are. Like, are they the size of a microwave or the size of the fridge? If they're the size of a microwave, you can put a whole bunch of them up in space at once. But still, a whole lot of launches and reliability testing for the Falcon 9, and eventually, Elon Musk, he doesn't want to be on Earth anymore. He wants to go to Mars.
Should I pull up the fact that there's a public competition to name the boring machine? Now, so that's a thing. I'll pull that up here.
Boring McBoreface is an option, I hope.
Let's see. It's probably a newer article than the one I looked up. So here's one on The Guardian. I'll link it in the video chat here. But yeah, now there's a competition to name
Internet.
the thing. So
The Boring Company. Wow, that's the original one right there. All right, please. Two different tweets in a row. Boring McBoreface, please.
One, William Burroughs.
Whenever someone asks the internet for a thing, it's always thing McThing face. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It's just that's what happens. That's what should happen. That's what you get for asking the internet what to name something.
Yeah, some of them are just really punny. But yeah. That was semi-related. So
The elongator. Yes.
let's see here. And I think that about wraps up this week. So if anyone has anything at the end here.
You guys got anything to look forward to in the coming days, weeks, months, years?
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I did as well, and it's really good, but also really sad. That's about all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Because anything more is spoiling, so I'm not gonna do that.
Nope.
All right.
Although, what are your thoughts on the music? Because I thought it was actually pretty good.
I thought the music was well done for the movie. I think it felt fit overall. Even the end credits, where I was like laughing pretty hard.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, this is glorious.
Yep. And then I don't think I have anything on the radar. I might be building a performance per watt machine here at some point with a 1500X and an RX 460, or if the RX 560 ever comes out, one of those. So yeah.
Oh god, the launch is heating up again. All right. Anyway, Road to QuakeCon 2017. That's all I care about. I need to get a laptop. If anyone wants to buy a laptop, PM me on the forum. There's my non-caring putting myself out there.
Okay.
Shameless plug. That's what I was looking for.
I think that's about everything. So thanks everyone who has been watching for watching, and we'll be around probably next Sunday at around 5 o'clock Central Time. So